The Moto G Stylus 2023 is finally here. This device is one of Motorola's most popular devices, and I totally understand why. This is a device that is definitely a very budget-friendly device, but also supports a stylus, a very unique thing at this price point. And of course, the feature set that we get in there with the headphone jack, the expandable memory, and of course, the ability of using a 90 Hz refresh rate on a device in this price point with stereo speakers. This is TK, and this is the unboxing and initial impressions of the brand new Moto G Stylus 2023 edition. Let's check it out. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So we're going to start off by talking about the Moto G Stylus. This is again the 2023 edition. There was a 2022 and of course previous iterations of this device. This year we're going to go ahead and do the quick unboxing and see what everything that comes in the box. You notice the box design is slightly different than what we've seen before. It's a biodegradable material, a little bit more basically environmentally conscious material that we have in here. As far as the actual pen itself of the device, I actually took out the pen just to show you guys where it kind of sits. But there is a silo for it that you basically are able to put it in and it becomes very nice and flush to the actual unit. There's going to be two different colors. The midnight blue is the one that I have in here, and then there's going to be the glam pink. Both of them I got a chance to check out while I was at the Motorola headquarters in Chicago, and that was actually absolutely fantastic. Now, as far as the box and what comes in the box, of course, the device is the first thing that you get there. We're going to go ahead and open up the box itself. This is typically just the material that protects the device. Now, there's a few booklets included in here. There's the Moto G Stylus Getting to Know or Meet Your Device, of course, the regulatory information, a SIM removal tool, and of course, a USB-A to USB-C cable to be able to charge and connect our device to our PC. Now, there is no charger in the box. This is utilizing the 15-watt charging technology that we've seen in the past. So if you have any charger at home, this should be able to charge at the maximum rate. Now, it does have a 5,000 milliampere battery, and that's going to be one of the biggest things. And of course, as you could probably see already, we have the primary 50 megapixel camera as the main sensor. A 2 megapixel macro lens is basically our secondary sensor, and of course, an LED flash that we have in there. No wireless charging. This is again the Moto G Stylus. It's really mostly focused on being a budget-friendly device with a lot of features. Now, on the left side, we have the SIM tray. This is going to still be one of those things that we really appreciate. Not only do we have a headphone jack, but we also have the ability of adding expandable memory up to 1 terabyte SD card with, obviously, the SIM card that we are able to put in here. Now, this is the LTE model that's currently available. No word yet as far as a 5G model from Motorola, but hopefully we'll be able to see a 2023 edition of that as well. We have a beautiful, gorgeous 6.5-inch HD+, so a 720p display, running at 90 Hz refresh rate, which is one of the new technologies that they've improved here. Also, obviously, it's an IPS panel. We also have stereo speakers, even at this price point, which is definitely very appreciated. And the stereo speakers are going to be tuned by Dolby, so we have Dolby Atmos on here. And of course, I mentioned to you guys at the beginning, we still have a headphone jack, and this is something that is very unique. So a headphone jack, as well as the ability of using stereo speakers, a bottom-firing USB-C, the bottom-firing speaker, one of the microphones for the camera, there's two of them, and a USB-C connection for our device. On the right side, we have a power button as well as a fingerprint sensor, so we'll go ahead and just lock our device, and it does have the touch to wake up, so as long as I touch it, it'll wake up. You don't have to press it. You're able to set that up in the setup when you're first setting it up initially. A volume rocker present at the top. You also were able to use it to be able to take a picture or so on. Now, when we get to the top, we have the secondary microphone. That's going to be the additional microphone that we have for video. And of course, as I said, the camera sensors on the back. The 50 and the 2 megapixel, the 50 main and the 2 megapixel macro lens. Now, as far as the front-facing camera, it's an 8 megapixel camera experience. And overall, from when it comes down to video quality, we're going to be basically using 1080p video on both the front and the rear sensor for video recording when you're using the Moto G Stylus. Now, as far as the design, as you can see here, it has a nice curved edge on the back, a flat surface as far as the display, so definitely very nice. And of course, as I mentioned to you guys, a camera cutout here for the 8 megapixel camera. The processor that's going to be housing or basically running this device is going to be the Helio G85, and that's going to be running 4 gigs of RAM with 64 gigs of internal storage at this model. And of course, you're able to add the additional storage using the SD card option here on the side up to 1 terabyte. So no issue as far as the storage. And of course, the RAM is actually more than capable of running this device. Overall, it's actually been running pretty nice. One of Motorola's biggest things is that their UI is not very heavy, and overall it runs pretty good. And even at 4 gigabytes, you'll see definitely that it works nice. Now, you notice, as I mentioned to you guys at the beginning, this is running an LTE. Basically, LTE is going to be the best that we're able to get. So if we jump into the speed test, just to kind of see exactly how the speed that we're able to get here. Keep in mind, LTE is not the slowest connection that you're able to get. A lot of people hear 5G and they're thinking the best possible, but I was able to get actually 118, and while I was testing this, it was actually getting closer to the 130 megabits down and up to 6.29 up. And as you can see here, even here, I was able to get higher upload speed than the download speed. It's really going to be depending on where you are and how fast your internet connection is going to be. The biggest thing I'll probably say is all of these speeds that I'm sharing with you guys right now are on T-Mobile, and this is where I was using it here in the Los Angeles area. Now, when we see those numbers, we can realize that the G85 is definitely a more budget-friendly processor. But I'll say this much, we're going to talk about gaming a little bit later on with PUBG Mobile. We're also going to talk about content consumption and what is this combination of, or this exact experience is really set for. Overall, the biggest thing is set around, it's this pen. This is the stylus that comes with it. There is a UI element that comes with it. Let's go ahead and just close it here. I'm going to move it up and put it up there. You can move it anywhere you want. The pen itself is not technically connected via Bluetooth or anything. This is just a basically a stylus. I can use my finger and interact with everything that it needs. And overall, the main thing I'll probably say is once you get this, please, please, please practice knowing that the pen goes on the right, not on the left. I'll say this because I've used other devices on the market that have pen inputs, and typically their stylus sits on the left and this one sits on the right. Not an issue though. If you try to put it into the headphone jack, it's not going to go in because essentially it's not going to do any damage, and it never clips in there, so there's no big issue there. The main thing I'll also say is that if you have the pen in, say, well, let's say you take the pen out when your device is, let's say the screen is turned off, it turn on screen memo, and that gives me the ability of writing on this display. And it does that little bit of a sound effect, making it sound like you're writing on paper, and of course you can delete anything you want. It doesn't actually do a specific deletion, it'll delete the entire text. And of course, once you're done, you can just go ahead and unlock your device and you're back into normal UI. From there, there's a few options that you're able to customize. You're also able to add additional options in there that gives you the ability of adding apps, shortcuts to applications. These are the pre-built shortcuts that are automatically built in directly for this function. So if I go in here and I select, I'm able to turn on certain functionality. Like an example would be here, the ability of basically starting a video recording and of course, changing my window, putting it to where I want. Let's say I want to create a GIF. This is going to definitely work great for you guys. The ability of also jumping in here, taking a screenshot with it and editing it directly with the stylus. And as you saw before, when I was actually going into and searching for things using the stylus, if you go into, let's say, search, and you want to be able to search for things with it, when the stylus is connected, you'll notice there's a special keyboard that comes on here. And I'm just going to say here, tick, talk. And I'll give it in there. It's going to transcribe it, and it puts in the application in there, and you're able to basically search it. Very nice, very functional. The pen itself, as I mentioned, no need to worry about power. It does not have basically the information of being connected to be able to launch things or gestures or anything like that. It's pretty much just a reactive pen that works great. UI element, as you can see here, you have the ability of customizing your system. You have Dolby Atmos, as we talked about before, system update information in there, and of course Wi-Fi and LTE connectivity. We have Wi-Fi calling, of course, and the ability of seeing what is the most current app that's running in the background. Pressing and holding the power button launches the assistant. And if I want to be able to turn on the power menu, I'll go ahead and press the volume up and power, and it gives me that power menu option in here, or I can scroll down all the way and select the power menu, and it comes up for me from this option. Updates and everything go through the system UI here. It is running Android 13 out of the box, and of course it will be able to get at least one software update, meaning they should be able to receive Android 14 when Android 14 becomes available for it. We have the display configuration, the ability of changing the 90 Hz, or keeping it either on all the time at 90 Hz, or the ability of changing the refresh rate to be more of a smart configuration. And under the display refresh rate, you're able to jump in. It was by default out of the box seen set at auto, meaning it'll jump between 60 and 90 Hz. But personally, honestly, with the fact that this is a 720p display and the fact that we have a 5000 milliampere battery, 90 Hz running on this all the time is not going to shake this, and it's not going to give it any problems. If anything, it's going to make the experience run a little bit better. And as you can see here, it runs, once it's able to load and preload some of that information, it's going to work great. Now, we talked about the speed test, we talked about Geekbench, we talked about the overall UI, everything runs the exact way you'd expect it. This is Motorola. The weather application kind of has its own little UI element. This is actually, I jumped into at the time. Let's go ahead and click the weather. And from there, it's going to give us all the information that you want. And when you close it, it just jumps back into the little bubble at the top. Very nice. And last but not least, of course, the ability of basically turning on the chop functionality. So these are typical Motorola functions. Chop turns on the flashlight, turns it off again. Basically going into the camera experience here, I can just basically do the double twist and it'll switch between cameras. You can go between the front and of course on the back. So all of those gestures are there. 3-finger swipe to be able to take a screenshot, and press and holding the volume down and the power button will also do the exact same thing. Very nice. Now, we talked about the display and the fact that it's a large 6.5-inch display, HD+, 720p resolution, IPS, and that means we're going to be able to enjoy content on this for many, many hours, and that's the biggest benefit here. The low power consumption processor combined with the display that we have in here, a large display running at the way it is with the 720p resolution, you're not going to have any problems actually enjoying content. And one of the biggest things I really enjoyed here is the fact that we now have stereo speakers. This is something that's different from last generation that was definitely an upgrade up alongside the 90 Hz. The other thing that we still have is the ability of using that headphone jack. So personal audio is definitely very nice. It's supported with Dolby Atmos, as I mentioned to you guys, but also listening to music or watching content with this, as I'm showing you guys with this Netflix clip, with watching Demon Slayer, it's absolutely fantastic. Great audio from the speakers and great audio from the headphone jack on the, obviously even over Bluetooth as well with the Moto G Stylus. Now in the settings under sound and vibration, if you go down, you'll notice that there's the Dolby Atmos configuration. You're able to go into the settings, customize the different options. Smart audio obviously is going to be the auto mode, but if you want to be able to keep it in music, movies, games, podcasts, or custom, you're able to create your different configuration and then go in there. Notice, of course, I'm using gestures. That's going to work really nicely. So 100% volume, Alex Quindo, let's hit it.
Jack it up.
Definitely sounds really nice. It's not going to be the loudest speaker that's on the market, but the biggest benefit here is that we have stereo speakers for that enjoyment, and especially because a lot of people actually do enjoy their content from here, like playing music on their phone and turning on the speaker as opposed to using a pair of headsets. Sometimes that's going to be the most functional option because of the side-mounted speaker here that we have. Even though it's firing sideways when we're holding it in our hand, it actually bounces off in our palm and comes back straight up. And of course, they're using the earpiece here for the top-mounted speaker. Of course, we're going to talk about the cameras and the capabilities that we have in here. Now, jumping in here, obviously we have a video capability, slow motion option, the ability to take in photos as well. Now we again have one primary sensor on the back is going to basically give us one mode. There is no 2x zoom. There's not even an ultra wide. So it's primary shooter. It's going to be the best one that we're able to take pictures with it. You're of course able to jump in, bring down the notification here, customize the timer, photo action, and all of that. And of course you're able to switch between the two, the front and the rear facing camera. Portrait mode, same thing. Pro mode, again, it's going to give us the ability of tiling in that experience a little bit better. And of course, we have the ability of using the ultra res, which gives us the ability of get that full readout of that 50 megapixel camera. And of course, dual capture, front and back, dual capture customization in there. And of course, the ability of jumping in directly here with time lapse. So video and standard imagery for dual capture. And you can reorganize all of those. Let's go ahead and do a quick sample of the front facing and the rear facing camera for video on the brand new Moto G Stylus. Okay, we're going to start off with the front facing camera video. Now, the maximum capacity or the maximum resolution we can get on the Moto G Stylus is going to be 1080p 30 frames per second on the front and on the back. There's not going to be a lot of opportunities to go higher. Again, keep in mind the functionality and the price point of this device. Now, the 50 megapixel camera sensor on the back is going to be your best primary shooter on this entire device. It's going to give you the best images as well as the best video quality as far as what you're expecting there. This is pretty much a good example of what the audio and video is on the Moto G Stylus 2023. Now, as you saw there, the video and audio definitely sound and look good in good lighting. Overall, 1080p is going to be the maximum resolution. Now, if we jump into the gaming experience overall, this is again a G85. It's not going to be a powerhouse for gaming, but surprisingly, PUBG Mobile actually worked quite well for me. The experience that we got in here while gaming this, there was no stuttering. I was recording the video at the same time. Again, keep in mind the video is recorded at 720p resolution to match the screen display resolution at 60 frames per second. But you're able to push the display all the way up to 90 Hertz depending on the games that you're playing. There was no issues. The game ran beautifully. Although, again, as I was saying, I was recording the video and playing it, the G85 was able to handle it like a champ. So there's not going to be any issues doing some casual gaming on this device. But keep in mind that the storage limitation that we have in here, some of these games can get pretty big. So the fact that we have 64 gigs of internal storage, you want to leverage the amount of games and content that you have on your internal storage. And of course, offload whatever you can to your SD card. Primarily, I would say the camera. And of course, give all of those photos and videos space on a much larger capacity SD card, all the way up to 1 terabyte. I truly understand now what makes the Moto G Stylus one of Motorola's most popular devices, and that's the fact that you're getting way more than what you're paying for. And what I mean by this essentially is, at this price point, what we're looking at for a device that has a 90 Hz refresh rate, stereo speakers, a headphone jack, expandable storage, as well as the fact that it has a stylus. Again, a lot of these features that you don't really find in a combination at this in this basically segment of the market. Motorola provides us a very good experience. Again, this is an LTE model, but I would probably say don't make this the decision factor here. 5G is great, but most of 5G in the US right now is still running at sub 6, which is not exactly very fast. Well, not a lot faster than what LTE is providing us right now. I've seen devices in the past on LTE get close to 200 megabits down, and that's actually faster than some of the 5G signals that I've been able to get. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But The combination with the LTE modem, the combination with the processor, the display, the battery, the experience that you're getting in here, it makes this device basically a media consumption haven, because you have a device that will last you forever. It's literally basically customized in a way that you're going to basically enjoy this thing for the longest time. This is really built with a long-lasting battery, a long-lasting experience. The charging that we have here is not the fastest, but it should be charged pretty well for you overnight. And they do have some adaptive functionalities in here to protect the battery health, even if you are charging it overnight and leave it on the charger. So Motorola didn't really stop just by looking at this device. So initial impressions of this device being that this is my first Moto G Stylus from Motorola that I've had an opportunity to check out. And I do want to say thank you to Motorola for sending me this unit to check out. It's definitely a very nice, well-rounded device, and I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people that are looking for a great device without paying too much money, but still want to get that functionality that is very unique. The stylus at this price point is definitely very, very unique from Motorola. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of the brand new Moto G Stylus 2023? Again, this is the refresh. The pricing and availability, will give you guys some links in the description below, of course, to find where this is available for you. One thing I will probably say is, you just be aware there is no NFC in here. This is not intended to have, mobile payment functionalities. But again, a lot of things have been done right with this device, and a lot of features that I hope will impress you if you're looking for a device in this price point. Like and subscribe as usual. Thank you very much for the support. I'll see you in the next video.